Hello there, you absolute legends. Emma McElhinney here with Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. I am here to ruin your misconceptions about perimenopause, fat loss, and kick midlife in the face. So if you think your 40s are a drag, think again. Because every week I am going to be stripping down the myths about perimenopause. I'm serving you raw, unfiltered truths about your health and smashing misconceptions about fat loss. And a whole lot more. So if you thought you knew midlife, you don't know the half of it. Aging is inevitable, but getting old is a choice. So buckle up, grab a glass of something yummy, and let's get to it. Welcome to the next episode of Piss Off Perimenopause. Hello, I hope you're good. Now, before I start, I have had a post-it note on my computer to remind me to say this. So if you are listening, first of all, huge thank you for listening. But I would love if you could take a second at some point, either during or after the podcast, to either like or subscribe or share this podcast with other people. And the reason for that is when people engage with whatever the platform is that you're using right now, it tells the algorithm that people are listening, that people like it, and then it'll promote it to other people, and more people will listen. And I want to make sure that I want as many people to listen as possible. I think that what we talk about here is really, really important. It's really empowering, and I give real life, solid, actionable things that people can do that can make changes in their own lifestyle and help them feel better and help them feel amazing, which fundamentally is my core value, is that I want all women to feel amazing. So if you could do that, I would be so grateful. Thank you in advance. So what we're going to be talking about today on this episode is all about fat loss. It is probably the number one thing that people want from me. And it's a really, I would say that we have a very unique way of getting those results for our clients. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So fat loss is such a big topic. One of the biggest symptoms, side effects, impacts of perimenopause that we see is weight gain or fat gain. And that's because when our hormones start fluctuating and changing, we store our fat in different areas. So, most women when they're younger will store excess body fat on hips, bum, thighs. But as we move into our 40s and our 50s, our fat distribution pattern changes and we start storing fat more around our middle area. And there's other bits as well. So that is one of the reasons. But the other reason is a metabolic reason. So our metabolism slows down as we get older, which means we need less energy in, and energy is the same as a calorie. So essentially we need less energy in, and we tend to expend less energy as well. If you think about, the lifestyle that we have, whereby, we're getting older, we're getting tireder because of these hormone changes and because we've got all the things to do. So we tend not to move as much. And that can make fat gain even easier and can make it harder to lose as well. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about the things that we can do and the things that we're not doing that we can easily start implementing. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot of is, this, it's not a guilt thing. I don't see it as guilt, but it's this, screaming question, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not working for me? And the issue with that is when we put ourselves in a place of constantly wondering what we're doing wrong, it subconsciously is telling us that we are doing something wrong, but we might not be doing anything wrong in essence. We might not be just doing the right things. But the other problem with that is when we put ourselves into this mindset of us, we are the issue, we are the problem, subconsciously that is knocking our self-esteem and it's knocking our confidence, and we're using mental energy in a negative place by wondering what we're doing. We're being bad, we're doing the wrong thing. So from a mindset and a subconscious point of view, it's not particularly a great place to be. And you can use that energy elsewhere on trying to figure out what to do instead. So that's the first thing I would say about that. Now, when we start thinking slightly differently, and one of the big problems with losing weight is that most people have been on a diet. Most people have done a high street diet or a quick fix diet or a juice cleanse or a fat pills or, so most people have done something, and we're constantly seeking this quick fix. And I understand why, it is attractive when we see that, oh my God, I really want this now. And when you get the promise of getting it now, obviously you're going to, like most people will find that attractive. But when we start thinking of diet in a different way than our traditional way, so when you think diet, most people will start thinking of it's going to be hard, it's going to be strict, it's going to be restrictive, I have to sacrifice certain things that you might like, and I might have to sacrifice, that relaxation time with my husband and the wine, or I might have to sacrifice meals out, or I might have to sacrifice taking the kids to McDonald's or wherever they want to go, pizza places. Is Pizza Hut even a thing? Don't even know if Pizza Hut's still alive. But it's all about, well, I have to get in the right headspace because it means I'm just going to have to be very, very strict and very, very rigid. And that fundamentally is where most people, that's where the problem hits straight away, is because we've put ourselves in this scarcity mindset of the things that we can't have. So the way that we do things is we try and work slightly differently. We start thinking, how do I approach this in a different way? How do I tackle this with a mindset of abundance? And their abundance and fat loss are typically not three words that you would put together. But this is where we start thinking about the things that we can have, that we can do, that we get to have, that we get to do. And that, it's not just a single minute mindset shift that's going to put you in, but it can help change the long-term success that you're likely to get, because you're thinking about, how do I get better? How am I making progress? Rather than constantly seeking out where you're going to fail. That can be a real problem, because a lot of people tell me like, oh, well, I've got a night out, so I'll end up being really bad. And that, again, it's like straight away, that's putting you in a negative headspace, but it's not about, how do I make this better? How can I make this night out, something that is still going to be fun? I'm still going to get to do the things that I want to do, but I'm still going to get my goals in the long term. And that, when we start thinking changing our thinking into that kind of way, that's when you'll start creating a belief that lifestyle shift is easy and is in it for the long term. Because what we're not trying to do here is, lose weight, lose 2 dress sizes in 90 days. That's kind of the norm. But you don't ever want to be thinking, well, when I go back to normal, because you're going to be creating a new normal. That's the goal, is creating a new normal. Because if you just go back to normal, which is what most diets will tell you to do, or you will do, you are going to go back to normal. And that means going back to excess calories and gaining body fat, because that's the science. If you consume too many calories, that extra energy will be then stored in your body as fat. So how do we do it? So a lot of people tell me, and you're maybe thinking yourself, I know what to do, I just need to do it. And other people, you'll get a lot of kind of girl bro, fit pros going, just eat less and move more, kind of boot campy. And we know that doesn't work. We know that when you get into your 40s and into your 50s and even into your 60s, there's a whole other lot of shitstorm stuff to deal with. Hormones being the big one, but also, where we are in our lives, juggling the kids growing up and going through puberty or going to university, parents getting older, having to deal with grief potentially, extra stresses around, where are aging parents going to live? So much stuff. We've also got our own relationships to deal with. And, for a lot of people getting into their 40s and their 50s, is this questioning of, is this what I really want for myself? We've got careers that tend to be, we tend to be peaking at our careers, but then we also get the big question mark of, is this what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And there's a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of identity things going on. So eat less, move more, fabulous statement, but what does that even mean in real life for most people? Like, yeah, that's fine. course, if you say that, everybody knows what to do. I need to eat less and move more. But most people can't do that just because of all the multiple plates that they're spinning. And the big question mark is over, well, actually, how do I do that for my life? And that's where the difficulties come in, because no two people are the same. No two people have the same family situation or career, or, it's just not going to happen. So where we need to look is at, we're going to use the Eat, Move, One methodology, which is what I teach my clients to get results very successfully. So when we look at that and we think, I want you to think, it's hard to do this on a podcast, but I want you to think of 3 cogs, eat, move, and win 3 cogs. And when we have these 3 cogs working together, it's effortless. It's all smooth. There's no creaks. There's no groans. It doesn't seize up. It just works smoothly and it just keeps working. But when one of them doesn't work properly, the whole shebang basically just goes to shit. So let's think about what we need to do. So nutrition, food, eat, of the eat cog, nutrition, is when you're in your 40s and your 50s. Nutrition for fat loss is not the same as nutrition for fat loss when you're a 22-year-old influencer, or, eating like a bodybuilder is not really going to be sustainable for you, because it's boring, it's not sustainable, it's tasteless, it's not family friendly, it doesn't allow any flexibility. And, I tell a story. I used to, when I lived in a flat in Glasgow, me and my friend lived together, and she basically lived in a cupboard. I had the bedroom, she had the cupboard. And we were fairly active in the party and the clubbing scene. We were out most nights of the week. We didn't particularly eat. I don't actually ever really remember eating a proper meal, but from time to time we'd go, we really need to eat properly. And we would end up sharing a can of mushy peas and a packet of Face Raiders. Now, of course, at that point, I was a size 8. She was also a size 8, because we weren't eating and we were surviving on vodka, Diet Coke, Face Raiders, and mushy peas, essentially. Right. So that's not a long-term solution for you either. It's not. And, it's little wonder that my sleep was awful. My skin was really bad. Yeah, it wasn't a good place. But anyway, so nutrition is the number 1 tool that you have for hormone health, hormone optimization as well. And nutrition is the number 1 tool that you have in your arsenal for fat loss as well. And when you get it right, you're going to get consistent results and you're going to get permanent results, because you're changing your subconscious behaviors around food. And that is the crux. Think about nutrition as not just something that you're doing tactically for 2-3 weeks. And because anybody can do that for 2-3 weeks. I'm doing really good. I'm being really good. And you're having salad for every meal and, not touching a bit of chocolate or a cake, and saying no to all. Mommy can't have that, she's on a diet, which please never say that in front of your children. But when you get that right, permanent success is inevitable. And you need to think about your life. You've got to think about, your business or your career. What hours are you working? What time are you getting out of bed? What is your social life like? What holidays do you and your family take or you take? You don't want to be going to your best friend's 50th birthday party with a Tupperware tub of chicken, rice and broccoli, for God's sake. You don't want to be going on a holiday, a lovely, high-end, all-inclusive, and you're just standing at the salad bar, although actually I quite like a salad when I'm on holiday and it's hot. But you want to be able, if you fancy something, you fancy something rich or high in sugar or something more processed, then you need the flexibility and the freedom to be able to do that. And that's where the eat part of the Eat, Move, One methodology comes in. It's about flexible, it's about balance, which isn't particularly a word that I love to use, but it makes sense. Because when you start implementing a really strict protocol, then basically if you take that approach, your inner rebel is going to come out and fight against that at some point. You're going to come out and say, but I've been so good, I deserve the bottle of wine or the family pack of kettle chips or the packet of hobnobs. I deserve this because I've been so strict. So it's not actually changing anything for you long term. It's not changing lifestyle. So when we start implementing some of these principles that I teach my clients, and we start thinking, doing it in a way of abundance rather than scarcity, then we don't have that in our Rebel Girl, because you're getting to have the things that you would normally feel that you deserve anyway. And we have to remember with nutrition, we've got so many things to think about. We have to think about, how is it best to eat for energy levels, so that we are not having a nana nap in the middle of the afternoon, that we're not having to cancel sales calls because we're so tired, or we can't focus. We have to think about the right amount of fuel / energy / nutrition to get proper restful sleep, getting quality sleep, because that is another big issue that hits in our 40s and 50s as well. We have to think about, you don't have time to be making separate meals for yourself. So how do you make this family friendly? So some of the principles that we look at are, making sure that we are getting high quality single ingredient foods, fruit and veg, lean proteins, good quality unsaturated fats, not relying on junk food or processed food, but also making sure that that is included, so that you don't start fighting against it and craving it and then succumbing, and then the guilt pattern happens, which is really, really common. So with your nutrition, yes, calories do count. And you'll get a lot of people that go, don't count. Calories do count. That is how fat loss and fat gain work, is this energy balance, calories in and calories out. But I don't want, some people do love counting calories for the rest of their life. Like, some people do really enjoy that, having that element of control and having these boundaries, but most people should not be counting calories for a long period of time, because what we teach here is about the behavior change, about the habits that we can implement so that we don't have to calorie count. So that's the eat part of the eat, move, and principles. When we think about move, exercise and movement, now most people, when they I've gained 10 pounds in the last couple of years, I just need to go to the gym more. Not the case. For your fat loss, exercise is probably the smallest thing that you need to consider. I like to think of exercise as something, as the tool that is going to help you live a long, healthy, independent life. So exercise is absolutely mandatory, but not necessary for fat loss. Now, most women in their 40s and 50s have come from a place where they do a lot of HIIT, they do a lot of cardio, spin classes, Les Mills, running, swimming. Now, all exercise is good for you. Don't get me wrong, it is good for you, but that's not going to be the thing that helps you drop body fat necessarily. And that's probably should be a podcast all by itself. So a lot of women embark on an exercise routine because they want to change the body shape. They want to get rid of this middle. They want to tone up. They want to look a bit leaner. And that comes with dropping fat and optimizing muscle mass. But doing all that high intensity, doing all that cardio is not going to do that. It will help you lose body fat, but it's not going to change what your body looks like other than making it a bit smaller. So you'll still have the fat around your middle. You'll still not look lean or toned or defined, because you're not doing anything from a muscle point of view. So why do we need muscle? Why do we want muscle? Now, granted, most women don't want muscle because they think it's going to make them look chunky or bulky or masculine. And if you have a lot of muscle mass, then that could happen. But that's not the goal for most people, and that's absolutely fine. Some people do want to look absolutely ripped. I naturally do build muscle. I've been weight training for a long time, and I like to lift really heavy. So that means that I am going to have muscle. But when we kind of hit this 38-ish mark, funnily enough, at the same time that our hormones start to fluctuate, our metabolism slows down. I mentioned that earlier, but our metabolism slows down because our muscle mass is deteriorating. So when we are fueling our body, we need more energy, more fuel, more calories to fuel muscle. If we don't have as much muscle, then we obviously need less energy. So that's where the metabolic piece comes in. But we need muscle to be active, to be strong, to be independent in our old age. So the only way to get muscle is to put your muscles under resistance and to then help repair and grow that muscle using nutrition. So what does that mean in normal language? Well, you're going to have to do a little bit of weight training and you're going to eat more protein. Okay, that's what that means. So people are like, I don't want to do weight training. I'm scared. I don't want to go into the gym. It's all big blokey men. And yeah, you're not wrong in thinking that. Gyms can be really intimidating. They can be full of meatheads. I would say to most people, though, that the meatheads in the gym are probably the nicest people that you'll ever meet and the most helpful people you'll ever meet. I remember going to a gym years ago, and it was a council gym, and there was this kind of clique of bodybuilder-esque guys, different ages, young guys all the way through to older guys in their 50s. And they were all ripped and really ridiculous looking with it as well, you know, standing posing in the mirror and doing their bicep curls, like watching themselves. And you're like, oh God, what a bunch of wankers. Here I am on the cross trainer. And then when I started getting into weight training, I was trying to get one of the barbells off the rack to put it to go where I was going to be squatting. And one of them come over and he's like, that, do you want me to get that for you? And they're like, what kind of weights do you want on it? And I told them they start building up. They're like, oh, your squatting form's really good. And you know, a lot of people are like that. Oh, you should never talk to women in the gym. And that's a whole different podcast, I think, probably. But so helpful, so nice, always said hello, always asked what I was doing, always asked what my program was. And they would ask anybody and everybody, it wasn't just me. So I just thought that was a nice story to share. But anyway, you don't have to go to the gym to do weight training. You can do it at home. 90% of my clients do all their weight training at home, and all they have is a set of dumbbells and a kettlebell. And you can have your workouts for life just using those bits of equipment. It's not overly difficult either, and it doesn't have to be overly hard, and it doesn't need to be time consuming. So if you've got this expectation in your head, like, I can't do it, there's no point doing anything because I can't get to the gym, or I don't have a spare 5 hours a week. You know, most of my clients are working out 3 days a week for less than an hour, but 45 minutes. And you can build muscle mass on that. You can get fit on that timeline and at home if that's what you choose. And the protein thing, I should have covered this in nutrition. But the protein, most women don't eat enough protein. And so a guideline for protein is having a palm-sized or slightly more amount of protein at every single meal. And that's a really easy way to implement more protein into your life. And you want to be looking at good quality sources of protein. So if you're a meat eater, chicken, fish, tuna, Greek yogurt, if you're not a meat eater and you're vegetarian, there's loads of options out there. And also, if you're vegan, loads of options out there. It is slightly harder, but it's not impossible. I have met many lean, defined women in their 40s and 50s that don't eat any meat. So it is absolutely doable. So exercise, for us, we have something called our S3 movement formula, which stands for strength, sculpting, and sexiness. You know, this is not about what people see, it's how we feel. And you know, a strong woman is a strong woman. You can tell that from them walking down the street. Not necessarily strong of, I can lift 100 kilos, but you know, they can tackle anything. And you do find people that work out are more resilient, you know, because they are used to, you know, the phrase no pain, no gain pisses me off. That's not true. But exercise will feel uncomfortable at times. It should never be painful, but it should feel uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're going to push to get better and to get fitter and to get stronger, is to getting yourself out of physical comfort zone. So yeah, it will feel uncomfortable, but not painful. And if you can deal with that feeling of discomfort, then you will be more resilient. You will be able to tackle other things. You will be able to deal with uncomfortable thoughts because your body is used to dealing with uncomfortable feelings. The sculpting element is that part about dropping fat, gaining muscle, you know, looking fit, looking healthy, looking active. And the sexiness is that internal feeling of, you know, I fancy the arse of myself. You can't beat that level of self-confidence. And it's not about how I look to other people. And for some people, that is a goal. You know, some people like the status of having a fit body because you have earned it. When you have a fit body, you have it. You can't buy it. You can't inject it. You can't, you know, just pick it up off a shelf. You've got to actually do the work. And that is really appealing. That status is really appealing for some people. So when we put it simply, exercise is a non-negotiable for health, and it's a non-negotiable for living a long, active, independent life. Stronger people live longer. That's the science. And stronger people have more muscle mass. So if you want to be able to put your shopping away when you're 90, if you want to be able to drive your car when you're 90, if you want to be able to pick yourself up off a pavement if you slip when you're 90, get exercising, get resistance training. Recovery, sorry, where am I going? Win, eat, move, win. The other thing about movement is the power of walking. If you are not walking daily, get walking daily. From a fat loss point of view, it's more important than exercise. Your body uses more energy getting more steps in and doing more to day fidgety, just moving about, all that kind of stuff. Uses more energy, aka calories, doing that than it does doing formalized exercise. So if you're not doing anything and you want to start somewhere, start with walking. You hear a lot of people talking about 10,000 steps a day. There is no scientific reason why it's 10,000 steps a day. It's just a nice number. It's just a round number that most people can deal with. But if you are completely sedentary and you don't do any walking just now, start off with 5,000 steps a day. Build it up. Get to 7,000 steps a day. Anywhere between 8 and 12,000 steps a day is probably quite a good number to aim for. And if you can't, if some days you're desk bound and you get yourself in a, well, there's no point even trying because I can't do it. Think about it as a weekly number. Like aim for 70,000 steps over the course of the week. And on the days that you've got more time, go for more walks. Easy peasy. The win element. So win and lifestyle comes under this bracket. So winning is all about mindset, all about we need to look at our motivation levels. We need to look at willpower, discipline. We need to understand our eating patterns. Why do we overeat at weekends? Why are we craving sugar? Why are we craving carbs? Why can't I be consistent? And then trying to come up with answers to that, find out, what are our goals? Why are they important? What does that look and feel like when we get there? How do we know that we're there? What will we do when we're there? What kind of person do we want to be? What are our key characteristics? What are our values? Who am I? These are all the mindset things that people just completely ignore when it comes to changing their lifestyle and changing their body. And that's why most people don't get permanent results, because they don't do the inner work. And if you don't do the inner work, you don't get the outer work. It's the same but if you've got a business, you'll have been taught before that if you do the inputs, if you do the things, you will get the results. And if you don't do the things, you might get the results, but you won't get the results consistently. And that's why most inverted commas diets don't work, because it's just simply food and exercise. And there's no work on the behaviors, habits. Limiting beliefs is a big one as well. Most people when they hit 40s have got a raft of limiting beliefs about their body, about their eating habits. And a big one is, oh, I believe I know what to do, I just need to do it, right? That's a big limiting belief, because actually you maybe don't know what to do at all, because you've been conditioned to believe that counting points work, or sins work, or just cleanses work. So yeah, there's a whole raft of things, and that is so important. And we actually tackle that head on here. We do that at the very beginning of our coaching programs, as doing the inner work. We don't touch exercise until 2 or 3 weeks in. We don't really do an awful lot with nutrition. We do the inner work. We do a lot of the inner work first, and it has to be done consistently. And the process never stops. And that's why this stuff has to be embedded into real life. And it's so important. And the other bits that we need to consider are lifestyle, sleep, stress. These are both really hormonal things that we have in our life that we need to get better at dealing with. We need more sleep. Like most women, I go to bed at 11, maybe get to sleep about 11:30, 12:15, and then I'm up again at 5:30. Right. That's, although you might have been doing that for 20 years and you're outwardly dealing with that okay, hormonally, stress levels wise, probably not dealing with that okay. So we do need to look at adapting our lifestyle. And that's why it kind of makes me cringe a little bit when I see all these people going, 5 a.m. club, yeah, get up and do your gratitude, get up and do your journaling, get up and do your blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, actually, I am going to do what my body needs me to do. And that is actually repair and rest and recover. So yeah, sleep is so important. Managing stress levels, so important. If we're not practicing boundaries, if we are not changing our patterns around stress, if we're not actively taking downtime and resetting our brain and stopping it from worrying all the time, then fat loss is going to be really hard to do, because when you are in this place, you've got all this adrenaline, you've got all this cortisol, your body is in fight or flight. It does not give two shits about fat loss. Does not care. It only cares about keeping you alive from these random imaginary lions that are the source of the stress. So it's obviously not lions, it's probably your boss, or it's probably your clients, or it's probably the kids, or whatever. All the stressors, not lions, unless it is lions, and then let's not worry about fat loss, just get away from the bloody lions. So these are all huge considerations that we have to take into account. And I get that this is probably overwhelming. What I've just said today, you're probably like, you told me it's easy when you know how, right? So I know how to implement all of this easily with clients into their day-to-day life and make it really, really simple. I just wanted to use this podcast to tell you all the things that I think about when I'm designing my programs for my clients. And how I do that is incrementally adding things in, making small changes so that we get big results down the line. And that's how to make it easy. Not trying to do all of the things in 3 days and then falling out with yourself when you can't do them at day 4 because you've got something else going on. So it can be a minefield and it can feel really overwhelming. But when you go back to basics and you look at it from, science and psychology and implement it into your life and make it personalized, then it works. It can't not work because it's science. And I know that one of the big, is that a blocker? Don't know what you would call it, but one of the big things that people always wonder, some people will explore it, they will share externally. Most people don't know because they kind of feel quite bad for thinking it, but it's like, well, that's not going to work for me because I've tried everything and nothing works for me. But what people mean by that is they've tried all the quick fixes or they've tried the high street diets. They've not actually tried a proven behavior change step-by-step program. And I think that's why we are different, is because, when we implement this Eat, Move, Win methodology and make it personalized to somebody's life, then it can't not work. Everybody's special, but science works, the psychology works, and there is a resolution. This is the solution. But it can be quite daunting because we have lack of trust because we've tried so many things. So some things for you to think about today. Some things to leave you with. Don't expect to be perfect. You can't be perfect. Life is not perfect, but you can challenge yourself to be a little bit better every single day. Start thinking more with the long-term view in mind of, yes, I want to lose 2 dress sizes, but I also want to be able to have a lifestyle that I can stick with, that is healthy for my family, that is not going to have me doing any weird meals, juice cleanses, fake foods, all that kind of thing. And of course, if you do want to know more about it, you can absolutely get in touch with me. That's fine. But in summary, eat, move, win. Think about your food, think about your movement, think about winning, think about lifestyle, think about hormones. It is easy when you know how, and it's easy to do when you know how. Okay. So thank you for listening to me today. I do appreciate it. I would love for you to go to the show notes, and there's a link there to discover your perimenopause profile type. And it asks, I think it's either 16 or 20, I can't remember, questions about you, what's happening to you in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s, whatever age you are. And then I have done a lot of work on this, find out what your profile is and what you should be looking to do to make sure you're managing your hormones successfully. So thank you again, and thank you for listening to Piss Off Perimenopause. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, review. Just do all the things, and I will speak to you in the next one. And just like that, we have spiced up another episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. Massive shout out and a huge thank you for hanging out with me today. I really hope you've been entertained. And remember, don't be shy, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep those heels high and standards higher. Remember, it's all about glowing, growing and downright owning it. So catch you on the flip side, and don't forget to click the link in the show notes to get your freebie.